Alright, so look, I know I just pulled up a history heavy type content type channel, right? But I will go ahead and coin this one, the psychology behind, you know, tyranny. Why not, right? But this was on purpose. This was for a reason. I think I want to pivot slowly, you know, into history reactions. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so therefore, history camp right here. You know what I mean? I feel like they got some nice content that we can look into, you know, and get educated about some history. You know what I'm saying? Expand our knowledge, expand what we know about the world we live in, etc. Right? And so, yeah, starting off with with England's mad tyrant. I think that's Henry VIII, right? According to the thumbnail right here. Wait, let me just position it. Yeah, Henry VIII. Well, this is History Camp. This is the host, and this old-looking man beside him is what the video is about, right? History reaction, but we are chopping up the psychology of tyranny. Let's get into it.
Forever though, like my mama's son missing. Ain't no telling, do they love or did they kill him? The dominoes have fallen, we can't go back to beginning. This existential crisis, the reason I cannot keep competing and keep on living. So it's back against the world, seeing all your value once you dealt with all the dirt. Backing up slowly from these.
Alright, I'm not gonna lie to you. Back at it for the part 2. Back at it for the part 2. The ruthless reign of England's mad tyrant. History cam. Right, part 2. So
Sure thing.
No. Deactivated you, right? What are you doing? Okay, yeah. So we are hopping into the turbulent journey of King Henry VIII. You know what I mean? From being, you know, the Catholic second son, a Roman Catholic second son, to transforming into, you know, becoming England's ruler. You know what I'm saying? After his brother's death, right? And that's just a quick summary of the story that we're diving into. Right quick, okay? So yeah, we can go on, right?
My mom named me after Thomas More.
Not named after him.
Yeah, that's my middle name.
It's your not.
The mic just fell. See? Thank you, God. I'm just saying, this is the guy that, look, anytime the king's like, hey, I'm actually the head of the church, it rolls in my mind where I'm like, hey, I'm going to actively fight against that.
Yep.
This is who I am. Right. Anyway, Bishop John Fisher met the same end. And what made it worse was how official it all looked. Henry used the parliament. Like, he was going through government systems, and he was twisting the law so that loyalty wasn't just about behavior. It was words and doubts, even thoughts, even rumors. And under these...
So he was using his power so that all elements of, you know, the region that he's ruling, you know, pushes his own agendas and everything. Like, you know what I'm saying? Are biased towards him. Yeah, I'm guessing this was something that's like frowned upon, you know, but he did it anyways.
These new treason laws, a joke or, you know, like a little comment could potentially count as an attack on the king. And the message was very simple. Whatever the king wanted now was just stamped as the law. And Henry learned something very dark, is that for the short term, violence works. If you silence your critics, all of a sudden the path clears up. And the young king, you know, he was, you know, so beloved by the church, is now executing bishops and abbots and, you know, even close companions without any hesitation. But he's still not done. January 1536, at the absolute height of his power, one accident at the tilt yard would push Henry VIII into an even more terrifying phase, one defined by paranoia and a cruelty that would leave permanent scars on England. January 24th, 1536, Greenwich Palace. The day was supposed to be a celebration. A tournament was being held in Queen Anne's honor. And she's pregnant again. Henry was convinced that this child would finally be the son who made all of this chaos worthwhile. Be the son who made all of this chaos worthwhile. He's 44 now. He's a little heavier than he was when he was a kid, but he's still confident, you know what I mean?
44?
There's nothing wrong with a little dad weight in your 40s. They didn't have GLP-1s yet, so he was doing his best. And he'd been jousting since he was a kid. So, charging full speed with this armor weighing like 50 or 60 pounds, lances strong enough to shatter bone. And then everything goes wrong. We don't know whether the horse tripped or the opponent's lance just like hit the wrong angle, but the result is catastrophic. Henry falls, and then his massive horse, also covered in armor, easily 1,000 pounds, falls directly on top of him.
Damn. Ah, damn. And you said he was a little bit more fragile now. He's a bit older, in his 40s, right? He's pushing 50. Damn. Had that dead weight going. Shit, one little mistake, man, you might just be out of there, bro. If you're not careful, right?
Some say that Henry is unconscious for 2 hours. Even today, a few minutes of unconsciousness is like a medical emergency.
Yeah.
2 hours suggests like severe brain trauma. And the court stood in total silence, wondering if the king was dead, if he was going to wake up, and if he did wake up, is he still going to be the same guy? When Henry finally opens his eyes, he seemed fine. Battered, put him in a dark room for a little bit, give him concussion protocol, and he had this old leg wound that was torn open again. But within days, he was back to business and seemed like he was good to go. But something was different. What's interesting is that modern neurologists look at Henry's behavior after 1536, and they see
he had a mental illness problem now, had amnesia now. Probably forgot his own name.
Classic signs of traumatic brain injury. Memory lapses, explosive anger, impulsive decisions, and insomnia and depression. None of these symptoms ever appeared before the accident.
Yeah.
And the reopened leg wound would never heal, and it became a chronic ulcer-infected, foul-smelling, leaking wound. And it had to be dressed every single day. So
was this the fall of the king? The deterioration, the physical deterioration of the king?
This once athletic king was now increasingly immobile. I mean, at this point, his weight skyrockets. His waist goes from roughly 35 inches to 52 inches by 1540.
Oh, my 600-pound life. Henry VIII.
He had to be lifted in special chairs. His armor was refitted again and again and again, each time bigger and bigger and bigger. And, I mean, chronic pain just in general will affect your psyche. It wears you down. It sharpens your frustration. It takes down your patience, and any type of small irritation can turn into rage really quickly. And Henry had always been intense. That was a part of why people liked him. But after this incident, that intensity is now completely unpredictable and at worst dangerous.
Yeah.
The court, once glamorous but risky, just turned into straight up risk. And staying alive meant being aware of Henry's moods and understanding when he was feeling angry and when he was just feeling a little bit angry. I mean, Anne Boleyn felt the shift immediately. When false news reached her that Henry had died after the accident, she was broken and, just completely shaken. 5 days later, January 29th, she has a miscarriage, and the child was a boy.
No. Damn, I feel like it was at every turn, Henry's intention was never meant to come to pass. I mean, that's how it feels, because it's attempt after attempt. It's just there's no win. It's just straight loss after loss.
Henry didn't react with grief, but immediately is pissed off and just blames her. He had torn down a marriage, broken down Rome. He literally reshaped England for this child that Anne Boleyn was carrying.
Yeah.
And now that son's gone. And in his mind, it's Anne's fault.
And then obviously now with his outrageous mood swings and things like that, right? With his mental health now affected. Oh my God! You telling me he crashed out on Emberlyn? Started to abuse her and blaming her for the thing, because you just said he was blaming her. That's crazy. People like this become they become dangerous, bro, to be around.
If God had cursed his marriage to Catherine, Henry now believed that God was cursing his marriage to Anne Boleyn too. 4 months later, Anne was dead. Yeah, she was accused.
No. Don't tell me he did it.
Of all sorts of stuff. I mean, adultery, incest, plotting to kill the king, charges that were almost certainly fabricated. The testimonies were forced, and confession meant death, and refusal meant torture and then death. So Anne went to the scaffold on May 19th, 1536, proclaiming her innocence. 11 days later, Henry marries Jane Seymour. Now, if you're Jane Seymour, high stakes. I mean, I couldn't imagine what she's thinking. She was probably at the execution being like, oh, okay. What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because I got to... And I'm telling you, I can't... Hardware, which obviously should look... 37. Finally, Henry is stoked. Labor advertisement. Well, let's get back to the show. Now, Jane succeeded where Anne couldn't. After 3 days and nights of excruciating labor, she finally gave Henry a son. All this chaos is finally worth it, right? We got Edward, October 12th, 1537. Finally, Henry is stoked, but then Jane dies 12 days later from postnatal complications, likely an infection caused by a retained placenta. And Henry, they say, mourned her deeply after 12 days of marriage. In memory, she became the one wife.
Crazy, I was like, yo, after 12 days of marriage. What are you implying, brother?
If he truly loved, because he knew her for 12 days.
12 days.
And
the love was strong, maybe, right? No?
I think probably the most likely reason why it's said that he loved her the most is because she gave him what he wanted the most, and literally what he would move heaven and earth for, literally, and died before she could ever disappoint him.
Yeah.
But Edward's birth didn't calm Henry's mind. The pain continued, the paranoia just got deeper, and the executions continued to come. In 1540, Henry married Anne of Cleves in a diplomatic match arranged by Thomas Cromwell. Henry despised her immediately, allegedly called her a Flanders mare, and that marriage was annulled in months. Flanders mare is a nice insult. We got to bring that one back. If you don't know, a Flanders mare is literally like a strong horse from Belgium. Which, I mean, if low key, if you describe a woman as like a strong horse, I'm like, ooh, all right. I'm kind of that gets me interested. But a Flanders mare at this time is a severe insult. So Cromwell, for setting...
No, well, it would probably make sense because she was probably like, you know, unnecessarily masculine and things like that. And you know, when a female displays those kind of characteristics, it kind of, you know, oh my God, she ends up with like kind of weird kind of personality, right? Where she wants to probably over-dominate and, you know, emasculate the men around her, you know, to prove certain things. I mean, it is what it is, but like, you know, you being compared to like a strong horse, what? Like, well, that's what it points out, you know, for me.
Setting up this marriage is executed. Yeah, he's arrested for treason and heresy and then executed that July. Henry had learned that even the most brilliant, loyal advisor could then be destroyed in an instant. And everyone else that was around also saw, like, hey, one little mistake could all of a sudden cost you your life. I mean, that's crazy. You set up someone, two people, they get married, and he doesn't like her, and all of a sudden you're dead. That's tough. Well, the marriages don't stop. Next comes Catherine Howard. She's about 18 years old.
How many wives is this guy married?
She's lively and charming, and...
Wait, let me hear that again.
You're dead. That's tough. Well, the marriages don't stop. Next comes Catherine Howard. She's about 18 years old.
18.
She's lively and charming, and some would say careless. Past relationships and ongoing ones came to light. Henry cried when he heard about it, and then he ordered another execution. She was 20 years old. His final wife, Catherine Parr, survived him by just intelligence alone. When Henry grew suspicious and soldiers arrived to arrest her, she managed to twist the situation, insisting any religious conversations she'd had were out of admiration for Henry's wisdom, not to challenge him. And Henry accepted it, or pretended to accept it, and so she was able to escape execution. The accident didn't create Henry's tyranny, right? Like, the roots were already there. The conviction in his divine right, this lifelong pattern of getting what he wanted, of being smarter and more charming than people around him,
was already there.
But that single jousting accident cracked something inside of him wide open. likely brain injury, the constant chronic pain, and the fear of aging and mortality, it just amplified every dangerous part of his personality. This charismatic prince of the early years is now gone, and in his place is a man who could turn on anyone. Friends became enemies overnight. They were executed quickly. Loyalty meant nothing.
Probably became schizophrenic, like a schizophrenic, you know, having maybe schizophrenia episodes from time to time, right? Hey, that might be possible, man.
Disloyalty meant basically whatever Henry decided. And by the 1540s, the English court was just a minefield. Ministers rose and fell within months. There was constant turnover. Nobles were executed for crimes that they never committed. Henry's moods were just insane, like charming at one moment and just everyone loved him, to murderous the next.
Damn.
He even began forgetting his own commands. In 1546, he ordered Catherine Parr's arrest, then raged at the guards when they arrived, having forgotten that he even told them to arrest her anyway. The jousting accident, again, it doesn't turn him into this tyrant, but it pushes a flawed man with a base idea of, you know, probably narcissism to a point of no return.
Yeah, for real, for real.
And as his body deteriorated and his mind darkened, his final years became just a blur of violent mood swings and, you know, impulsive decisions and of just a frantic attempt to secure a succession that had haunted him for decades. The king who once symbolized this enlightened Renaissance thinker had now just become something else entirely. This wounded, unpredictable force that was still powerful and still feared, but dangerous to anyone.
Monstrous too at the same time.
That was too close to him. By 1547, Henry VIII is basically unrecognizable to the king that took the throne 38 years before. He was obese, barely able to walk, and constantly fighting infections from his leg that was just continuing to ooze. Servants had to carry him from room to room.
Bro, he aged like milk.
His temper, never calm to begin with, had just become so unpredictable. His sixth wife, Catherine Parr, basically had to treat every conversation like she was, you know, crossing a minefield. One wrong comment about religion or power or politics or just a phrasing that he didn't like, and she could end up killed next. And after everything Henry had done to secure this Tudor dynasty, all the marriages and the break with Rome and the reorganization of government in general, the executions, the succession was still fragile. After all of this, he only had one legitimate son, Edward, who was just 9 and already sick. Mary had been restored to the
sick. Whoa.
line, but she was a devout Catholic. Elizabeth, also restored, was only 13 and considered illegitimate by most of Catholic Europe. Henry had completely torn England apart and really just put Europe upside down for a male heir, and was now leaving behind 3 children who looked destined to just fight over whatever had remained. Now, on January 28th, 1547, Henry VIII died at Whitehall Palace. He was 55 years old. And there's a story that he died clutching Archbishop Cranmer's hand, unable to speak, but squeezing it when asked if he trusted in Christ's mercy.
Damn, bro. Look. Before we get into his death, right? Quick little word from the sponsors, right quick.
Quote unquote. Fat lady sings, I see the writing on the walls. I mean, back to the sin, cause it was pride before the fall. And now the demons grin, there's no temptation.